Hey everyone, this is a bonus Q&A episode. I try and answer questions live every Thursday. You can sign up to come to my free live Q&A at schoolforthedogs.com/Q&A, and you will see the next one I'm doing. I then am trying to take recordings of those Q&As and post them here to the podcast feed. If you have a question, you can email me directly, Annie at School for the Dogs. You can also go to anchor.fm/dogs and record your question there. Thanks for being here. I was going to talk just briefly about humping. Got a question: how do I get my male neuter dog to stop trying to hump other male dogs to assert his dominance? So let's talk about the answer. The simplest answer to the question is you should work on getting your dog's attention. You can manage a lot of behaviors if you have the ability to get your dog to come to you, to pay attention to you when you need your dog to do so. And you can do that by practicing getting your dog's attention in less distracting situations. It's a process of using classical conditioning to your advantage. I have a podcast episode where I talk about teaching come and drop it using classical conditioning. And same idea. You want your dog to know that when you say whatever the specific word is, or blow a whistle, or whatever, that it is worth their while to stop whatever they are doing and to turn their attention to you. So often with come, people do this with a whistle, whether it's an actual whistle or just whistling with your lips, because that's a noise that's very specific and can be meaningful, and it's an easy thing to teach, because all you need to do is whistle and then drop some great things at your feet, drop some treats. And you just need to be really consistent about that. What's nice about teaching behaviors in this way is, certainly in the beginning, you're really not asking anything of your dog. You're just teaching your dog to make the connection between stuff dropped on the ground. Between the sound and, stuff dropped on the ground, stuff that is delicious. I liken it to, there's so many things that you can liken it to, but it's kind of like throwing a sale, right? The sale isn't happening because you are going to the store, but the store, having the sale makes you go there because you've been conditioned to understand what a sale is. So my suggestion is work on teaching really good recall. It could also be like a break cue. At Schoolyard, at School for the Dogs, we teach dogs that, when we say break, that means they need to stop what they're doing and turn their attention to us. But also, I don't know why your dog is having so many opportunities to hump other male dogs, but certainly as the controller of your dog's social life, you could also limit access to other male dogs unless you're really ready to be practicing that recall or that break. And then work up to situations where your dog is maybe with like in a dog park or less controlled situations. But wanted to take a step backwards and talk about humping in general. First of all, it's always a problem when we attribute reasons to dog behaviors. It's a slippery slope. So, is your dog humping in order to assert his dominance? That is your explanation of the behavior. We cannot go into your dog's mind and say, "Are you doing this?" Because see if he's really feeling like he needs to assert his dominance. The fact is, humping is a very normal dog behavior, and dogs don't have like a huge repertoire of behaviors. They what can dogs do? They can wag their tails, they can bark, they can shake. But often in puppy class, I'll explain humping to people as kind of like a nerdy behavior. Like, it's one thing dogs know how to do that kind of feels good and feels right. It comes like a baked in behavior, but it's not necessarily the most suave behavior. Sometimes it can get on other dogs' nerves. It's kind of like a nerdy behavior. It's like a fifth grader at a dance party who just like doesn't have a lot of moves yet and is like defaulting always to doing the running man. Dogs can grow out of humping, sometimes just as they grow out of adolescence, sometimes when they're neutered, but sometimes they don't. And it just becomes a kind of default behavior in certain situations, often a behavior that is a form of communication or a release of energy, a kind of displacement behavior. It doesn't always make sense. That's how you can define or spot a displacement behavior. Humans engage in displacement behaviors when you punch a wall. It doesn't make sense, really. You're not angry at the wall. But it is a release of some kind of energy that is going in that direction, doing something sort of basic and easy for you. Same idea with like jumping up and down. Not a hard thing to do, baked in behavior for us humans, something we do for maybe we're happy. Doesn't make a lot of sense. I think humping falls into that category of something that feels good, the dog knows how to do, and given that they don't have a huge repertoire of body vocab, sometimes it comes out. My dog used to hump my leg in a few specific situations, like at the dog park, when he wanted to leave the dog park, or when I think that's what he wanted, he would sometimes hump my leg. Why? I don't know. I mean, he could have done any number of things to let me know that he wanted to leave the dog park, but maybe he didn't want to bark at me. It felt like the wrong thing to do to get attention of others in the dog park. It was a way that he could kind of communicate with me quietly. Maybe it was I don't know. I can't ask him. Was he trying to be dominant over my leg? I don't think so. The other thing is, in play, my dog would sometimes hump other dogs in play. Always, I found when he was like the third dog. Dogs tend to play best in twos. And if there were two dogs playing and he was trying to like figure out how to engage, how to work himself in, that would often be a time that I would see him start to hump. And some dogs really don't mind being humped. I don't think they think it's this weird sexual thing that we seem to think it is. It's funny to me how embarrassed people get in the dog park when dogs are humping each other. It's like they have to say, like, Stella, you need to buy him dinner first. There's always ridiculous things. It's like, the people are talking to their dogs, but they're really talking to each other. I think it bothers the humans a lot more than it bothers the dogs. And when he would start to do that, I would just help him get out of that situation, lest another dog interpret it as annoying or uncool, which can happen, or more likely a person would get embarrassed, and I just didn't want to have to deal with their embarrassment. But I don't think it's a dominant behavior, because I've seen dogs, hump and then go ahead and ask to be chased, or lick another dog's lips, or roll onto their back. There's lots of things dogs do in play that might be considered dominant, but then the next moment they're doing something that might be considered submissive. And so I just think it's always wise to be cautious about attributing things to dominance. That is my little spiel on dog humping. Another way I think of it as is, and I don't know if this is, I don't have a PhD in this stuff. I know a lot from having watched many dogs do many things, and from the study of ethology is so interesting. It's like why dogs do what they do in order to take in enough calories to survive and to procreate. Like this ethology is kind of, as I see it, like the study of survival and procreation. And I've always thought of humping as like nature's way of hedging bets. What else? Probably humping this laundry bag is not going to end up producing puppies and bringing my unique genetic makeup to a new generation of puppies, but maybe. Like, when in doubt, try humping something. It could work. I wonder if dogs are kind of operating in that way, or like there's something in the makeup that lets that is helping the dog practice this thing that could really help them extend their DNA to another generation, and it feels good. My father had a cat that was that would hump a pillow. He would hump anything. He would hump anything he could find. He was notorious for stealing towels. Like if I took a shower and then like had my towel on the bed for like a minute after I took the shower, he would like steal the towel and bring it into the closet and like roll it into kind of like a little burrito and hump the hell out of that towel. And he would like store towels in the closet. My dad would call it his harem. He also had a pillow that he would hump, that my dad sewed 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth on, so it looked kind of like a cat in the end. And my dad, who was a funny guy, would call out like, "Oh, look, he's doing a 69 with the pillow." Something worth noting about humping is dogs who don't like to be humped are often very good at just sort of saying in a subtle way to the other dog, like, "Hey, I don't like that. Leave me alone." And not to get too political, let's say, but it has struck me that part of what's complicated about when in human behavior, when people are inappropriate with each other in any way that might be sexual, again, like sexuality, sexual like behaviors, it's like baked into all of us. And certainly, the desire to procreate is deep in all of us. But I think a problem is that we humans are not necessarily as good at being like, "Hey, leave me the fuck alone. I don't like how you're behaving right now." It's really hard. It's scary. It's difficult. I mean, especially as a woman, when you're faced with a man who's being inappropriate. I mean, fortunately, most of the time men aren't humping us, but whatever they're doing. If there is a larger lesson in dog humping, maybe that is one of them. We can learn from dogs who don't like to be humped. We can learn how they are nicely able to communicate with one another when they do not like it. All right, those are my thoughts on this topic. Daughter of a friend of mine, when her dog humps things, she calls it twerking, which I think is funny. And it's kind of like twerking, right? Humans do it too. We are just as weird, and I don't think we're, twerking is not about dominance. At least I don't think it is. But again, I encourage people to not try and mind read their dogs too much, because we can't read each other's minds. So we shouldn't give ourselves credit for being able to read the minds of individuals in another species.
Do you need some help teaching your dog where you want him to pee or poop and when? If so, I hope you'll check out our brand new, totally free house training guide. You can find it at schoolforthedogs.com/house. It's filled with lots of really good tips on how to train a dog to potty in the right spot, but it also is going to explain to you how to teach your dog to do it on cue. So go check it out. schoolforthedogs.com/house.